The Village of Lincoln Heights regular council meeting is now in session. Today's date is July 2024, 2023. The time is 7:50. Roll call, Ms. Randolph.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Present.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Present.
Councilman Durance Daniels. No response. Councilwoman Tanya Key.
Present.
Councilwoman Laverne Mitchell. No response. Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Present.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Present.
Mayor, we do have 5 who are present, 2 who are absent. There is a quorum.
Okay. Motion to excuse Councilwoman Mitchell.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber.
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter.
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson.
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Thank you. Dear gracious and eternal Father, we want to thank you for bringing in this place. Lord, we ask you to touch each and one of our council members, that we make the right decisions, that we'll always agree at times and disagree, but we ask you, Lord, to touch us in a mighty way so that we can work collectively to bring the Village of Lincoln Heights forward. Lord, we ask you to bless our residents within the Village of Lincoln Heights and outside. And Lord, we ask you to touch our families that are in bereavement at this time. And all these blessings I ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Okay. Motion for acceptance of the agenda. The regular, there's no regular. I think it's falling under supplemental when it comes to the legislation.
Motion.
Okay. So motion to accept the supplemental agenda.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all right. Motion order for filing of the journal for the 2024 tax budget public hearing minutes from July 10th with any necessary corrections, as well as committee of the whole meeting minutes from July 10th and the regular council meeting minutes from July 10th, 2023 with any necessary corrections.
Motion. Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, announcements. Councilman Childs Jeter.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to start off with early voting. You can go to the Board of Elections now and vote at 4700 Smith Road in Norwood. Please go and vote. National Night Out will be Tuesday, August the 1st. Please come out and participate. Be great things that will be happening. And let me see. Early voting ends on Sunday, August the 6th from 1 to 5 p.m. After that, you're going to have to go to your polls in your community. And in this community, both polls, I believe, will be open. I have to say I believe because this is a different election, and they haven't sent out any other information about changing where you vote. So Lincoln Heights Missionary Baptist Church and Centennials, if you don't get a chance to vote early. The next thing is I want to personally thank President Commissioner Alicia Reese for the Black Music Walk of Fame. And I say that because Lincoln Heights is on the map down there. We have 2 people, Charles Foles and the Isley brothers, that if you go down there and visit the site, if they touch anything that says Isley brothers, it's going to talk about from the Village of Lincoln Heights and Charles Foles. So if you haven't had the opportunity to see it, please take your family down. There's something for everybody, from seniors down to the babies. So I ask you to do that. And again, I thank her for her vision and making it come true. It was a wonderful day on Saturday. If you didn't experience it, it's probably somewhere out there on Facebook. And great day. Thank you, Alicia, President of the Hamilton County Commissioners.
Thank you, Ms. Jeter. Councilwoman Baber?
Oh, yes, we're asking everybody to come out tomorrow to respect my block for the Lincoln Heights Day. We're planning for Lincoln Heights Day for our Labor Day weekend. Thank you. Oh, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Councilwoman Key?
No announcements at this time, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Stinson?
I have no announcements.
Okay. All right, I have a few announcements. First, we're going to be having the mayor's prayer breakfast. It will be August the 26th at the Lincoln Heights Elementary School. And then I know the last council meeting we did not have our honorees, but we will be recognizing our own Hazel Wimberly Wagner, which will be receiving the Legacy Award for all her dedication, along with Chief Brendan Eric. He is a fire chief. He's a captain. I'm sorry. He is a captain for the Cincinnati Fire Department, which he did start in Lincoln Heights in our fire department. We also will be recognizing Revealed Holiness. They in Town Chapel. Both of our churches will be recognized, and these two churches have been in the village for over 90 plus years. So this year we focusing on our public service and faith ministries in the village of Lincoln Heights. We do have another nominee, but we are still working to try to confirm that, and once that is, we'll be identifying and informing everyone of that as well. Let's see what else I have. And then we are starting our parade, getting our participants for that, for the Lincoln Heights Parade, which will be held on Saturday, September the 2nd. Expecting everyone to have their chairs out. Our staging starts at 8:30, and we will be contacting individuals the closer it gets as we receive their waivers. So I want to thank our clerk of council, Ms. Randolph, for working on the flyer way in advance so we could start earlier. So we have started dispersing those out through email, and we'll be getting some out in the mail as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Last but not least, when I'm thinking about the parade, we have identified that these three ladies have been champions for the Village of Lincoln Heights. So our grand marshals will be all three of Hamilton County Commissioners, Commissioner President Alicia Reese, Denise Driehaus, and Stephanie Summerall Dumas. All three commissioners have been asked to be our grand marshals this year, so we're looking forward to that. And they are starting to confirm whether or not they'll have it in their schedule to make it. But I'm sure they always have been great supporters of the Village of Lincoln Heights, and I'm excited to have them as the grand marshals this year. So stay tuned to that, along with what Ms. Baber said about Lincoln Heights Day. We're looking for vendors, and we'll start advertising. The booths will be $100 for both days, and then we're looking for the pricing. The pricing for food trucks will be, if you want to do one day, that's $50, and for 2 days, $75. So that's the information I wanted to give everybody, and we're looking forward to having our residents come out tomorrow at 6 o'clock, because we definitely need volunteers for all the great things that are going to be taking place on Labor Day weekend. Also looking to reschedule our Shakespeare in the Park I want to thank We Thrive for allowing the grants, which we were able to get a grant for our June 10th celebration and also for the Shakespeare in the Park. But due to rain, we're looking to reschedule that to be part of our Lincoln Heights Day celebration as well. So stay tuned. Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
what time is your mayor's breakfast?
It's at 10 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
And so we'll be sending out and doing robocalls. If anyone would like to come, we like to ask RSVP. That way we have enough seating for everybody. So the residents are always welcome. But if you could RSVP, that'll allow us to have a seat available for you. And this year, our wonderful vice mayor will be emceeing as she has for the last couple of years. So we're looking forward to this year, Mayor's Prayer Breakfast. Okay. All right, so that leaves our speaker for tonight, which is Mr. Dan Dieters of Energy Alliance to discuss electric aggregation for the Village of Lincoln Heights.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for indulging me. I was just at the Village of Fairfax. They called me Thursday to come and speak to them so that they could put it on the ballot, which is what Mr. Holbert, I think, is going to ask you to do tonight. Electric aggregation, does everybody kind of have an idea what it is? Basically, we take all the homes in the village, we package them together, and we take them out to bid with suppliers around Ohio that would like to come in and offer a supply contract to the village. What that does is Duke usually buys the energy and they pass through that energy at whatever cost they buy it at. Energy Alliance is able to go through the aggregation process and in gas and electric, I'll talk more about that in a second, go through that process and bid it and achieve a much lower price. So most of our communities right now are in the 6 to 7 cent range kilowatt hour for electric, and the Duke rate is 10.17 cents. So what that essentially means is folks that use the average amount of energy, electric energy, are saving between $30 and $40 per month off of the Duke rate. We unfortunately won't be able to do it as soon as it's approved. It has to go on the ballot, and what we do is we help inform the community as to what the ballot issue is and what a yes vote means, what a no vote means. And at the end of that, if it passes, we can come in and I can put the certification package together for the village, submit it to the PUCO, have it have the village become a certified electric aggregator, and then at the end of that, we'll go out and shop it and get the price. Now, communities around here, Wyoming, Evendale, Lockland, Reading, are all of our customers at this point. Folks in Wyoming are saving about $40 a month right now on their electric. So the funny thing is, we represented Lincoln Heights, and we still do, on gas aggregation. That program stopped about 3 or 4 years ago. At that time, they let the certification run. About a year ago, someone called from the village and asked us to recertify Lincoln Heights, which we did. So that certification is in good standing right now. So you're able to do gas aggregation at any time. I think I first appeared here in about 2012. And talked about gas aggregation. They had a program for about 6 years that was very successful and saved people, a good deal of money. Everybody knows the reason we're standing here is because the Duke rate and energy rates in general are really, really high. So this is a tool that the village can use to make sure that residents have a real choice that doesn't have a got you at the end of it. Because any of these programs that you go out to, the folks that are around Lincoln Heights right now selling door to door, at the end of those programs, the rate's just gonna skyrocket. And they won't probably see it coming a lot of times. You have to be really careful about the end of those private contracts. At the end of a contract we would bring it to you, and if you don't renew it or do something else, everybody just goes back to Duke. With the folks running around with vendors' badges, at the end of the contract, they have to give you a new deal, a new number, and that new number is going to be a vast percentage higher than the initial program rate. There are folks out there that already have an alternate supplier. They won't be eligible for the program. So let me give you a quick timeline of what would happen. So if you decided to put it on the ballot, we would try to explain to voters what the issue means, what a yes means, what a no means. If it passes, we'll go to the PUCO and we'll certify Lincoln Heights. Now, this doesn't cost you anything. We pay all the fees. We do all the paperwork. We're not going to bog down your administration with a bunch of unnecessary workload. We do it all. Once the election's certified, we'll do the certification process for the PUCO. Once that's all ready to go and the community's ready to go out, we'll package it all together. We'll give you choices of whatever term you'd like, 12, 18, 24, 36, whatever. What kind of energy you'd like to use. Do you want to use renewable energy? Do you want to use just standard brown energy? Do you want to use a combination of both? Do you want to let people make that choice for themselves? We run all those kinds of programs already. So then what'll happen is once the village decides to move forward, and by the way, once we get to the altar there at that time, if you say no, the program doesn't start. We can't start the program without your go ahead and your say so. So this council's going to make the choice of whether to move forward. The important thing tonight is, if you want to get it on the ballot, to give you the opportunity to do it, folks have to be able to vote on it in November. If you don't do it in November and you want to come back in May, then that program won't start probably till 2025. Right now, we're saving people, like I said, between $30 and $40, and then we have about 400,000 electric customers in Southwest Ohio. We know what the price is going to be till May. There's a process by which Duke has to basically report as to what their price is going to be. Next May in 2025, when this program is ready to come on, if you so choose, that price is going to be between 9 and 10 cents. So Lincoln Heights residents next year will probably be saving around $30 a month. That's what our projections are telling us right now. But when we come back at that time, I'll be able to give you a more concrete forecast for those prices, and I will be able to tell you next April and May what Duke's price to compare will be. So folks will get the opportunity to be enrolled in this, and we put everything together for the residents. It's our job to protect the residents. So once the letters go out to enroll people, there's 21 days where they can opt out. Our contracts all say that you can opt out anytime. So that 21 days only means something kind of to the PUCO. That's their timeline. But in our contracts, you can opt out when you want. If you feel like you've made a mistake, you can come back in. So, and if you feel like you want to go out again, you can go out. You can come and go as many times as you please without any kind of fee at all. So what we do is, like I said, is all the rules are in the residents' favor. They're not in the supplier's favor. We just go out and get the program from them. We just go out and get the provided energy from them. So in closing, I'll just say, I'll be happy to answer all your questions and any questions that Mr. Holbert might have here. But I would just say to give yourself the opportunity to run a program, it's got to be on the ballot. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions at this point, if you have any.
Yeah, so council, during our committee of the whole, we did discuss the information that you gave. So I know they did have some questions. So we're going to go around and see if they want to present those questions to you. Anyone on this
I
side?
have a couple of questions. Once this has been voted on and passed, every household is automatically in it, or do they have to opt in?
No. So what'll happen is Duke will send us the list of eligible folks. So that means if you haven't chosen another provider already, you'll be an eligible Duke on the eligible Duke list. So those folks will be automatically enrolled once that list goes out. And the opt-outs come back. If people, so you have to say, I want to be out. And the reason that is because if we did it the opt-in way, like we have done in the past in some other programs, the price is never even close to being good because they don't really know what they're buying for. So when you have a body of energy, okay, you have let's just say you have 2,000 houses and we know exactly how much energy they use because we get that data from Duke. We go out and we bid it based on that number of usage. They can really sharpen their pencil and give us a much better price. And
So every month, the bill will still come in Duke's name?
nothing changes. If you have even billing, it'll probably drop a little bit because the number will be lower. If you have an issue with service, Duke still does all that. The big thing that you have to kind of remember is Duke doesn't make any money on their power or their gas. Because of deregulation back in the early 2000s, they have to pass it through. So they have they don't care if they don't care if they get it at a good price or not, because they're going to get their money. I care to get it at a good price for your residents to help folks save money.
Ms. Faber, anything from you?
I wanted to know if there was any rebate in using this this service.
What do you mean? I'm like confused. There's a discount. I mean, there's basically where we are right now, and all I can do is give you our history. So we have 60-some communities between 6 and 7 cents. Duke's rate is 10 cents. So for every penny, that's $10 a month for the average household. So since we're saving people between 3 and 4 cents, plus, you're basically $30 to $41 off of Duke's rate of what you would normally pay. So there's a reason 20 communities are putting it on the ballot in November, and the reason is this recent increase from Duke in June has pushed those communities towards trying to help.
Okay, Ms. Key?
So my question is, you used the term that you saved people a good deal of money, and this legislation that we have before us is putting electric aggregation on the ballot. I heard you say that we already have gas aggregation here with your organization. Do you have that data very similar to your performance report that you have here for Fairfield Township that's available for the village as far as the savings that has occurred since we've had gas aggregation with your organization?
Yeah, sure. I can get it. It hasn't happened in 3 years, so I'll have to get it out. And that whoever was the city manager at the time got a report every 3 months. So I don't know if it's still here, but it would take me an hour or two tomorrow morning to dig it out and send it over.
So you would have it from 2012
Oh,
up
yeah.
until
Yeah.
whenever the time was.
Sure.
I guess part of my concern is that what our residents have been saying to me is that they feel that solicitors who come to their home, who ask for their bill, this type of legislation makes that even more. So now we have gas aggregate, so they're coming asking for a Duke bill because they want to lower the gas costs. Now we're going to add electric aggregate. They're going to be going to those communities or to those residents because now they can potentially compete with your company, because this legislation is not saying that we're using Energy Alliance. This legislation is saying that we're adding electric aggregation to the ballot so that the people can vote for it. We want to make sure that our residents are not being put into predatorial situations, because in a lot of cases they are the most vulnerable because of what you mentioned earlier. So we have to be just a little bit more direct with our response and with our information to our residents, because I myself have been victim, what I consider victim, not of the program because I refuse to change from where I am, but with individuals who come to my door very aggressive about making these changes. So we really want to take a look at what do we do as a council, what do we do as a community to make sure that our residents, most vulnerable ones, who are the ones paying those bills, are not being victimized.
I agree with you 100%. I take those calls every day, and I will tell you this: when somebody calls our office and they're a resident, they talk to me. I'm the same guy that was working with the suppliers, was working with the council, all the way down the road. Now, what I will tell you is the reason that you're getting the gas people at the doors now is because the program, there's a database the PUCO runs, and it talks about who's running a program and who does not. Because Lincoln Heights stopped their gas program 3 years ago and they do not have an electric program, those companies can see that there's nothing in there. So those predatory energy companies know that this is the most fertile ground for them to go into and get these deals, because when they go into other townships, cities, and villages that have it, they know there's an active aggregation going on, and they know that they're not going to be able to switch them. So it's nobody's fault that you don't have one going on right now, but the kind of the happy accident of aggregation is these predatory energy folks stay out of the communities once the program's up and running. And when someone calls me, or you get some friend of yours that comes to you or constituent and says, and you give them my cell phone number, which I give to people, and they call me, I explain to them exactly how to get out of it, how to make sure they're not going to pay any exorbitant fees to get out of it, and how to get into the new program. So you are 100% right. This is what goes on in communities that don't have aggregations, is the predatory energy folks jump in there to take advantage of those that are most vulnerable. That's what the good part about this is.
So when can you provide us with that report of our savings from our gas aggregation that we have with you, or that we had?
First thing in the morning, probably. I can get that, and that's like, I mean, since it's so old, I'm not sure. And gas is completely different than electric.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what the
Sure.
numbers were during that time.
It's so I can tell you that at the very beginning, gas prices were a little bit higher than they are now. And Lincoln Heights did very well, and they were an early adopter. Actually, Lincoln Heights is one of our very first communities, if you remember. So yeah, I can have that. When I get out of here, I'll shoot an email and have somebody shoot it over to Harry first thing in the morning.
Vice Mayor Stinson.
I had a question. My concern is the automatic opt-in. So you're saying once it passes, it's so much time, and then residents are automatically opted in.
Correct.
Is that when you send the letter saying in 21 days you can opt out?
Correct. So they're going to be notified. They're going to know long before that. We're going to tell folks that before the election. We're going to tell folks that the whole time. It's going to be on our website. If folks don't want to get in this, the real world view of this is here's what happens. Folks say, oh, I want to stay with Duke. Okay. Then they see their Duke bill. And then I get a rush of people saying, Lincoln Heights has this program. Yeah, can you get me back in? Sure, absolutely. But the problem is that these predatory types have soured the pool a little bit, because folks have been taken advantage of before. So, but to answer your question, if we don't run it as an opt-out, the pricing will not be any good at all. So it's hard for them to buy for an unknown.
I do have one more question. And how long for?
You will choose that.
Is it certain increments?
It's got to be at least a year, but I've done 22-month deal. I've done a 48-month deal. I mean, I will come in and I'll give you a full scorecard of what your options are. And if you don't like any of the options, we won't do anything. And none of this will happen.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
One additional question. So with the aggregation that's occurring, will the Village of Lincoln Heights residents have the same, I forgot what you called it. You said Duke is 10 cents. I forgot the term that you used. Would they have the
That's their
same,
price to compare.
would they have that same price as all the other communities that are part of the program? Or is this based on the village's uses, and do you go get pricing based on the village itself?
Well, we'll go get pricing based on the village, because I've not met too many elected officials that want to say, oh, the people in Sycamore Township made our decision for us. We do it individually with Lincoln Heights. However, we have so many customers, we have so many suppliers that want to work for us. Our pricing is exceptional, because we have 400,000+ homes in Southwest Ohio, and all those suppliers want to work with us because we're by far the biggest.
So I'm asking, does the benefit for the village, the residents of the village, is it that we're in a larger pool, or are we in a pool by ourselves?
You're in a pool by yourself, but we make sure that when we send it out, there's a bunch of other communities with you. But they're not bidding, they really don't bid it that way. My house and your house, you and I pay a slightly different price to Duke every month based upon how we use our energy. And that's how these programs work. If you have X amount of energy in X amount of homes, that's kind of how you get your price, is how well do folks use that energy? That's, do they turn their lights off at night? Is there, that kind of thing. It's until we bid it out, I wouldn't, and that's the great part about this. You guys put it on the ballot, we do all the work, you're certified. At the end of the road, if you don't like where we're going, you can say, you know what, we're not going to put it on. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do the program.
So if we don't do the program, the individual families who were automatically enrolled, are they no longer enrolled?
Well, they're never going to get a letter. No one's going to get enrolled if you guys don't come up with a price. If the council doesn't come up with a price, a term, and a program, no one's getting anything. The program will cease to exist, essentially.
So, I mean, if we decide that we're going to do it, we go with it, then we decide later that we don't want to do it, everybody is unenrolled.
No, that would be at the end of the term. If you already, you're going to have to sign a supply contract for them to buy all that energy.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is the August 9th Board of Elections date is the only really important date, because at the end of the day, once we come and do all the work and get Lincoln Heights set up, if you don't like the pricing, I'm going to say, and I have done it before. I stood in front of Delhi about 6 years ago and said, do not start this program. My wife didn't like it very much. They didn't make any money, but that's the right thing to do. If we took, so we had 12 communities last year when energy started ballooning last year. We had 12 communities ending in December that we sent about 100,000 people back to Duke because the price wasn't good enough. And then in June, when we could achieve a much larger discount and better pricing, we brought all those communities back in. So we sent folks back to Duke in November, December of last year, and then restarted the programs once we could give them a discount. Because we can't put you in a program just to put you in a program. Who's that serve? Me. I wouldn't have too many customers after that. You got to do what's right for the residents.
Okay, so Dan, I got a couple of questions when I was looking through the package you gave. And we mentioned the questions that we were gonna, that interest us all. So when I get to who will not receive the opt-out letter, and I came to the part where those enrolled in the percentage of income payment plan, PIP.
Yep.
I wanted to ask you how that's gonna, if how an individual may get PIP for so many months,
Yep.
and then they come out of it. So the question was, what happens when they come out of PIP?
They can call me and I can enroll them.
Okay.
That is a PUCO rule and the supply and the utilities rule. That's not our rule. We think, if you want my honest opinion about it, it doesn't make people happy, but I'll give it to you. I think it's terrible. I think those folks should get the best price.
Okay.
Why do they have to pay 10 cents?
So I got another one for you regarding the draft timeline for aggregation. I know you mentioned about you'll be working on the plan and everything, but we came across the 60, 90 days to post-election when it talks about the public hearings. And we also discussed about, if we put it on the ballot, we want to inform our residents what's on the ballot. So based on the hearings, would you come out, do the hearings here? We also discussed you having a booth at Lincoln Heights Day. But we do like to do a lot of formats where the residents, come here, Respect My Block, where we can open it up. And we want to know if you would come out at that time and talk to them as well, because we have an older community and we want to do the best that we can to educate them on what they're going to be voting for.
Absolutely. That's what I do. I come out to those meetings. If you want to do town halls, I'll work with the administration to make sure that newsletters, websites, if you see that website that we have there. So if you say, okay, go ahead, we'll have a Lincoln Heights version of that with a FAQ talking about what all this is, everything else. And then hopefully the staff here will shoot folks to that and to us so that we can answer the questions and not take up their time. Because what people do, okay, these bills are impossible to read. I've been doing this for 20 years, okay? They change them. They just changed them all last month. These bills, nobody can read these. Oh, I can only read them because I've been doing this for 20 years. But nobody can read this bill. Nobody understands. I talk to people all the time. They've got these third-party carriers, and they're paying 5 times what they should be paying. I'm happy to come out to anything at any time. I did a senior center event in Delhi last year before our new contract. Delhi and Green Township, and we told all the senior citizens, bring your bill. You got questions about it, I'll sit there. I sat there for 3 hours and answered their questions on the bills.
Okay. I think that's all I got. Anybody else? Yes, Ms. Chalshida?
You said the program for the gas aggregation was stopped 3 years ago?
I think it was, yeah. Maybe more. I could look it up right now.
How do you bring that back? If
Well-
you're gonna have elect.
Sure. So whoever called, and I don't know who it was last year, so we had been sending to Mr. Holbert's predecessor emails saying this is about to expire, this is about to expire, your certification's about to expire. Give us the high sign and we'll go and make it right. So finally, somebody from here, and I don't know who it was, sent us an email and said, hey, they got a letter from the PUCO here saying it finally expired, can you fix it? So we went back and we fixed it.
So
It's ready to go.
we
Good
have
standing.
it. We
Yep.
have it now.
Yep, good standing, ready to go. If you told me that, and I assume Mr. Holbert's going to call me in August when he sees the emails come out for all the other communities and says, okay, give us your price, I'll be back here to talk to you about gas and the number.
Did you come in and talk to us about 3 or 4 years ago
Yeah.
with Ms. Mitchell?
She was, she might have been the one that called, yeah.
Yeah, and you came in and talked about it, and we didn't do anything about it at
Correct.
that time.
Right.
Yeah, trying to remember.
Easily
remember.
recognizable.
I remember.
Usually when I come into these meetings, everybody gets up and leaves.
We have never left,
Okay.
Not you, I'm talking about the crowd.
Okay, is your name listed anywhere on the statement that we get in the mail from Duke? Is it listed?
No.
Okay, so you.
The only thing that'll change is, so let's just say, I'll give you an example, and it's a bad example, because if they see it, they'll get mad. Say Dynegy wins the job, okay, from you all. Their name will appear on the bill as the supplier. But we'll encourage your residents to call us, because we have 15 folks that are all just like me that have a pretty intimate knowledge of aggregations, how that works, what Lincoln Heights price is, what the term is, all those things, and we would rather just have those folks get a hold of me. I took a call on the way over here from a resident. I mean, doesn't bother me. That's my job. I answer the phone. I gotta be the only guy answering every cell phone call in the world. Every spam call, everything, so.
Okay.
So will you take a look at the gas piece and let us know if the whole community is really on there?
Yeah, I will,
Yeah.
I will get that report to see how it did in the morning. I'll call the lady that's in charge of our PUCO reports, and I'll say, give me whatever we have on Lincoln, and we'll go from there. And then, yeah. But the thing about today is nothing has to happen except to give yourself the opportunity to get on the ballot. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come back to me in February and say, you know, this is stupid, we're not going to do this, we'll get you certified, and we'll give you the best price when we think the time comes. It's not, you know, there's not going to be a pressure or anything like that.
Well, I was just thinking
There's
that
no obligation.
if we have gas through your company, you know,
Yeah,
why not electricity? Okay.
yeah,
That gave me a different way of thinking about this.
yeah. Well, we know what the price of gas is going to be probably through the winter this year, and it's going to be not as high as last year, but it's going to be between 70 and 90 cents. So that's
Madam
what all
Mayor.
of our models are telling us.
Madam Mayor, just one more.
ahead.
It's a quick one.
Okay.
So I guess some of my questions was because we have quite a few residents who live in energy or non-energy efficient homes. And so therefore their energy cost is higher because they lose energy throughout their home to heat it and to cool it. And I think Councilwoman Baber was asking about rebates. What do you have programs that our residents can participate in or the community can participate in to help make more energy efficient homes, to help do some of those type of services that would help with that situation, which is why I asked about.
You just clarified because I was having a disconnect. I thought she was talking about the rate difference. Every one of our suppliers has like a rewards, that kind of thing, and you can go on their little store and say you have X amount of points and get LED bulbs and things like that. So yeah, those do exist, yes.
Okay.
Well, Dan, I just want to thank you for coming out and giving us the 411. And what we are, you know, depending on how things go, we would look forward to you coming out to Lincoln Heights Day and possibly respect my block format for the residents.
Sure, we do all that. So we have in the suppliers, the folks that will be competing for your business always are happy to help, especially when we call them and tell them to. So,
All right. Well, thank you so much.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right. So we don't have any hearing from the residents today, and so we're going to the regular agenda. Communications from the clerk of council.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make 2 announcements. I have a flyer for each announcement that was placed in the council's file folder. The first one is for an event that's going to take place on July 29th at St. Monica's Recreation Center, and that's located at 122 Chester Road. It is Man Up, One for Life to Live. I'm sorry, Man Up, One Life to Live 4. Calling Lincoln Heights young men ages 6 through 18, July 29th, from 8:30 to 3 p.m. For more information, call 513-771-7806. That's the first one. The second one is also an event sponsored by St. Monica's. It's their annual Back to School Bash, Friday, August 4th, from 3 until 6 p.m. Food, games, bouncy houses, backpacks, and school supplies giveaway. I will make sure this should be on the village's website already, but I will double check with Mr. Thornhill. And that's the end of my announcements, Mayor.
All right. Thank you. Communications from the mayor. Only thing I have is just to give an update on Mayor's Court. I know I did the last report, the last council meeting. So Mayor's Court has, starting next month, we'll be having Mayor's Court once a month. We do know that our anyone that gets a citation is being sent down to downtown, but we are having, some of the residents are coming that have tickets on the docket. They have been coming to Mayor's Court. So, and Ms. Miss Vicky Bowers has been very successful in collecting payment for tickets that they have received in the past. So I just wanted to let that be known. I think we do have Mayor's Court this Wednesday, but starting in August, it'll be once a month until further notice, until code enforcement starts coming in to Mayor's Court as well. Also, I thought I had something else. Oh, I did want to, I should have made it as an announcement. I did want to thank the service department, Mr. Craig and Q. They did an outstanding job setting up and preparing Shakespeare in the Park. So I just want to thank them. They worked diligently along with the Public Works Department throughout the week, getting the flowers watered. So Mr. Holbert, I want to thank you for helping them, assisting them. It was one of the first tasks you had coming in and starting. So I just want to thank you for getting them all geared up and ready to go. And they stayed the whole entire time, throughout the rain and all that. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I agree. They did a great job, and there wasn't even a question when we looked at what needed to be done and the present condition. The Public Works Department was all in. So I appreciate everything they did also. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
wanted a clarification. You said that Mayor's Court is going to be on the Wednesday, once a month. The time is the same, or is the time different?
Time's still the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we just completed this will be the second one for the month of July. So starting in August, it'll be the first, usually the second week, that Wednesday,
Okay.
once a month. Okay. All righty. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Okay. So next is communication from the solicitor. Mr. Desai.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Dialing back to the beginning of the month as we were transitioning from our interim manager to our manager Holbert coming in, Mr. Key and I were working on getting the insurance requirements figured out with USI on the special event grant application. If you remember, there was an Exhibit B about a page long with all those different insurance requirements. The other thing we were doing was looking at the OPERS pickup plans. So there were different types of plans that were available in discussions leading up to the hiring of the manager. One of the things we talked about was to make sure that outside of the 10% pickup, there weren't going to be additional costs to the village. And there are some public employees that are not eligible. So we work with OPERS to work through all those questions. And they were all positive, in our favor. The next thing that came up was then the bonding versus the faithful performance contract or endorsement. So lots of back and forth emails and conversations with USI Insurance about that. Other than that, I think Mr. Holbert has completed the special event application. That's been submitted to USI. So hopefully that's the last piece of that, and we will know that we've got our insurance in place. We can get the contract signed, and we can get, I forget, is it $20,000 or $25,000, something like that, for the Lincoln Heights Day Festival. Some issues have come up recently about, taxes and payment thereof. Just a reminder to everybody that the charter does require all council members to be current on their taxes and their filings. The other thing that I was following was, as I think I may have mentioned, I'm a member of the Ohio Municipal Attorney Association, and one of the nice things is there is a daily sort of ongoing dialogue amongst the municipal attorneys throughout Ohio about various topics. Some of them are of interest to us, some of them are not. But the one that was interesting was the new budget bill. I think some of you saw the email I sent today, I forget who I copied on that, about the new budget bill has basically created a $22 million fund through OPWC for emergency infrastructure repairs. And I know the village will be looking into that through the manager's office. But as part of that, there were another number of other provisions that were in the budget bill that were interesting to municipal attorneys, one of which was charging for rental registration fees. There was going to be a prohibition against that. There is also some debate going back and forth about whether or not municipalities should be regulating short-term rentals like Airbnbs and Verbos, things of that nature. But the only thing that I pulled out of it that I was most interested in was it looks like there might be some money for us to improve our infrastructure. So hopefully that will result in a grant. Of course, we have the typical drafting of the legislation that was presented at the last meeting. And the only other thing I think I really wanted to mention was the manager's contract. So this takes us back to last year when there was a debate between the auditor and the village about whether Chapter 37 of the Personnel Policies and Procedures was the gospel or whether it was the employee handbook. The auditor determined that it was the Personnel Policies and Procedures. There was some discussion at that time about the law committee picking that up. I had recommended that we get rid of one of them, or if we're not going to get rid of one of them, that we reconcile the inconsistencies. This reared its head when I was finalizing the manager's contract because there are two different ways of computing sick time. The handbook follows the state statute, which is 4 6/10 hours, so 4.6 hours for every 80 hours of work. The policies and procedures says that you automatically get 8 hours at the beginning of each month, no reference to number of hours worked. And obviously, if you do the math, those numbers come out somewhat differently. So in the manager's contract, it says that unless there's something in this agreement that's different, you are bound by the employee handbook. Well, that was before the auditor told us that our handbook was not valid. So we now are in a situation where I think we're forced to go through and reconcile the differences between the handbook and the Policies and Procedures manual. So in August, council is on break. That should give me some breathing room, and I'm going to go through myself. If anybody from the law committee at any point wants to chime in, I'm happy, but I don't think we can wait. I think we need to get this done because I can't finalize the contract until I know which one of these resources is what we're going to follow. And so my recommendation, I can tell you where I'm going to fall out, is I don't want to have a handbook. That's going to be my recommendation. I'd like to just have everything in our code so that it's easy to find, it's easy to look at. The thing that has scared me since 2015 is that every time a new manager comes in, they ask me for the handbook. And I say, I can send you the last thing I have. I don't know if this is what the village follows on a day-to-day basis. I don't know if this is the most current version that is being given to employees. I can only give you what I have as the last thing I got, which is in 2015. So I would like to eliminate that uncertainty moving forward. American Legal Publishing does our code online. It's easy to go there and search, and I think it allows us to put it all in one comprehensive place. However, council is the policy maker. So if there's policy A in the handbook and policy B in the Policies and Procedures manual, I'm going to come back to you in September and say, okay, here are all the places we need to reconcile. Let's just say there's 10 of them. Do you want to do policy A or do you want to do policy B? And if you want to do policy B, for example, and it's not in the policies and procedures that is in our code, then I'm going to need to draft legislation for that. So it is a big endeavor, but I think we've been kicking the can down the road, and I think we got to pick it up, and we've got to get that reconciled, because it's going to eliminate issues with the auditor during our next audit. It's going to make it clear for for Mr. Holbert, for Mr. Key, for myself, for everybody, what is the rule, what applies. The only other nuance to that is that the statute, the revised code statute on sick time, has been interpreted by some courts to be a general law that home rule power cannot overturn, cannot change. So I need to determine if we can even make a choice, or whether we need to simply follow the statute. There is a case out of the First Appellate District, which is Hamilton County, that dealt with a provision of that statute, and the court said that provision is a general law. Excuse me. So the natural inclination is, well, if that provision in the statute's a general law that home rule power cannot change, well, then the rest of the provisions should be general law as well. But I came across that case doing research on something not completely different, but different. And so I didn't go down that rabbit hole to see what all the courts have said. Hopefully the Ohio Supreme Court's ruled on it, so we don't have a split of authority out there in the appellate districts, which does happen. And when that happens, I always defer to the First Appellate District, because it's the appellate district that we are in. So I thank you for indulging me. I know it's a long explanation, but I want everyone to understand, the manager's contract in principle is all agreed to. It's just I need to know, do I use employee handbook or do I use policy and procedures manual? The other pieces of the contract that were up for negotiation are all dialed in. So once we have that, we'll be able to get that inked, and I think we'll have I'm hoping a better house to live in, because we will only have one set of rules to follow and we won't be guessing anymore. Any questions on any of that?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Will you be able to have that information while we are on recess, so that we'll have time to look over it?
I'm going to say yes, that's my goal. I don't know what I'm getting into. I'm anticipating it's going to be half a dozen or so provisions that are different. That's what I'm anticipating. If I get in there and it's 60 provisions, then I may give it to you in packages. Let's talk about sick time and vacation time. Let's talk about, accumulation of vacation pay. I might give it to you in packages if it's overwhelming, because it becomes overwhelming for me too, to have 60 items and try to work through it all at once. I'd rather do it by topic. But presuming my assumption is right, that I'm not going to be dealing with more than, let's say, 6 topics, 8 topics, something reasonable, yes, my goal would be to have it to you a couple weeks before our first meeting in September.
Madam Mayor,
Anything? Yes, ma'am.
how many billable hours are you anticipating?
I have no idea.
So I'm sorry, can I ask the second
Yes, go
part?
ahead.
I know that during the search of the village manager, this topic was one of the ones that we were talking about, some in-house cleanup that needed to be done. And I guess my understanding is that we would leave that to the administration to go through and do. I don't have a problem with you doing it, because I think we can get it done quicker. Understand that the administration is new. I just want to take a look at budgeting processes to make sure that at the end of the year we're not moving monies to a project that we had not anticipated financially, is what I'm looking at. And you mentioned that we were considering taking it to law. I don't remember that. Maybe that was before I was in law. But I would like to be able to do some dual work with that. So if you could send the law committee the policies, no, the code or whatever the handbook is, because that's what I don't think I have. Definitely have the codes,
Yeah.
so that I can also streamline and kick out like, hey, this looks a little different. Not that I'm trying to do your work, but I'm trying to do the work of the law committee where we should have been doing that work at. But I like that approach, and I think we have some other areas that we may want to consider that approach as well. So if you can give us an estimate of the hours that it would take to do those things, because we definitely want that in-house process cleaned up. That was one of the big things that we wanted to make sure that we can do.
I really can't, I can tell you, I don't know what I'm getting into. I mean, this is like opening up a hood on a 1999 car. I don't know what I'm getting into. What I can do is I can, you know, I'm just gonna pick a number out of the air. If I get to 10 billable hours, I can stop and let Mr. Holbert know, and then he can communicate with council. The only thing is, I would recommend not to be penny wise and dollar foolish here. I mean, we got significant findings, and you know, and a lot of it is just that you know, there are multiple places and resources in the village, and it needs to be addressed, especially because it affects everyone who works for the village. So, but I'm happy, if council would like me to, I can, you know, at 10 hours, I can stop, and I can let Mr. Holbert know, and then wait for further direction. The only problem is, you know, that direction, you know, we can't do anything until a September meeting. So that's the only thing I would, you know, would, you know, caution you about.
Ms. Jeter?
Yes, I don't think the billable hours are important at this point because we need to clean it up so it won't create a problem for us down the road. You know, so my opinion is that you should work on it and get it done.
Vice Mayor? I thought you had your hand up.
Oh, I did, but the question got answered.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and, you know, I know with Mr. Holbert coming just now on, I think he's got some other things he's got to focus on. One of them is a contracting for the sheriff, and we have something in front of us as far as increase for the fire department, so we don't want to bombard him with that if we want him to focus on those top 3 items that we want him to work into. So that's just my talking.
This may help. I did have a private corporate client that asked me to review a handbook that they drafted from scratch, and it was meaty. And I think I charged them $3,500, maybe $3,600 to do that. So that gives you somewhat of a range, you know, of what it might be.
That's fair enough. We don't, you know, when
I
it comes to, you
understand
know
the
what I mean?
concern, yeah,
Yeah.
I do. And, you know, I mean, obviously, if I start getting to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, you know, a $20,000 project, I'm going to stop on my own at that point, right? I don't anticipate that.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's going to probably, you know, take me some time, you know, a good 20 to 30 hours to get it done. But I'm not anticipating, you know, logging 100 hours. And of course, you know, my own conscience would stop me at some point and say, you know, we got to go to the client and make sure they're aware of where we're at and that they want to expend this money. So.
And that'll save us that extra money down
Down the road.
Down the road, right.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, once the auditor starts calling me, those conversations, you know, go on forever, especially when we're battling over opposing views. So it's a good investment.
Okay. All right, well, thank
Mayor.
you. Oh, Mr. Holbert, I'm sorry.
Thanks, Mayor. So just to clarify, this would fall under extraordinary services?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I was double checking. All right, if there's nothing further, is there a motion to?
Just add one thing. Now, let's say that council wants to do the 37 as the body, like we're going to use that, we're not going to have the handbook. When I actually went to draft the legislation, that would not be. It's the research and analysis ahead of time that would be the extraordinary.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think that helped. Okay, all right, that was your oral report, right?
Yes.
Motion to accept village solicitor's oral report.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, then we're gonna go into, is there any old business? All right, then we'll go into, since there's no new business listed in the consent agenda, there's nothing listed. The next thing will be our supplemental agenda. So, motion order for the first reading of ordinance number 2023-02.
Motion to hear by title only.
It's been moved and now second to read by title only. Roll call.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm right.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson. Yes. Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumfree.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass. Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, ordinance number 2023-0-2. An ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to effect a governmental electric aggregation program with opt-out provisions pursuant to RC Section 4928.20 and directing the Hamilton County Board of Elections to submit a ballot question to the electors.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask, did everybody hear the same thing I did from Mr. Dieters, that the deadline is August 9th?
He said August 9th, but the legislation said August 4th.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was, but I knew we had done something like this many years ago, so I went back and found that day and then counted. And I also know the rule is 90 days before the election. But is he confident? Do you know, is August 9th, is that the date? Because if it is, I think we should amend the legislation to say August 9th. Does anybody know?
I can reach out to him real quick.
I did. That's how I came up with that date. But he gave a different date, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I miscounted.
I think if we do August 4th, that'll.
It'll definitely,
It'll
yeah,
get
that
there in
definitely
time.
gets it in the door.
Right.
So, okay, well, let's just leave it August 4th then. If it's somebody new for sure, it'd be worth amending, but if not, we'll just leave it.
I know that's how, when individuals that are running, that's the deadline to get your name in.
Is August 9th?
Yeah. So we can still keep it August 4th, though.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just leave it then.
Better safe than sorry. Okay, any questions? If there are no questions, motion to suspend.
So move. Second.
It's been moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumfree.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Motion for passage.
So move.
Second.
Moved in second.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kenzie Mumfree.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Motion for the emergency clause.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
All right.
That was the emergency clause.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It went so smooth, that's why.
I guess it would.
All right. Motion in order for resolution 2023 R33.
Motion to hear by title only.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass. Village of Lincoln Heights, Hamilton County, Ohio, resolution number 2023-R-33. Resolution authorizing the finance director to transfer monies between object codes, formerly known as line items, in the general fund. Excuse me.
Motion to,
Any questions? Thanks. Motion to suspend.
motion.
Second.
Moved in second.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Motion to receive for passage.
Second.
Moved in second.
Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Motion to accept the emergency clause.
Second.
Moved in second.
Let's see, Ms. Childs Jeter. Okay. Councilwoman Phyllis Baber,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Childs Jeter,
Yes.
Councilwoman Tanya Key,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jeannie Stinson,
Yes.
Mayor Ruby Kinsey Mumphrey.
Yes.
We have 5 aye votes. The motion does pass.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's no executive. Any miscellaneous business? All right. Did you, Mr. Holbert, did you want to mention anything to council about,
I do.
okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So, let me find the right folder here. So a couple things. The first one, it has a lot to do with policy. And I'm informed that the village manager has everything to do with the internal workings. And once we come up to legislation, that's where council comes in place. So we've had a, I don't want to call it an incident, but there's a case where there was something purchased without any approval through the PO system or through the village manager. So I've denied that request based on current policies that have been in place. And it's not a new policy that I've enacted. I'm told basically what I did is I sent out a new explanation of that policy and steps to follow from here on out that we will be doing internally, and they have a lot to do with department heads. What this allows me to do is to look at the operation and look at the purchasing and to be accountable. And I'm putting a lot of trust into the department heads because they're the ones that are going to be approving those POs, and then ultimately I will be approving them. Obviously, the department head for council is the mayor. So any approvals through council, that will go through mayor. Mayor will then go to me, and then I will make sure and work with Mr. Key to make sure the funds are available and so on. So I just wanted to let council know my decision on this in regards to something that was purchased for an event that we have that will be denied. Now, if council says, no, we want you to reimburse this person, then you're directing me legislatively, there's a vote and everything that would be involved. But at this point, there's an item that was purchased no authority to approve that purchase, and they're looking for reimbursement for this item, and I will be denying that.
Anyone have any questions?
I do.
Vice Mayor?
Sometimes there are date of service that somebody might have to go out and get something that is needed for the event. When I say for an event, like I think when we had the last Lincoln Heights Day or whatever, I'm sure somebody went out and bought something. I can't tell you what
Sure.
it was. I know the chicken was already that was donated, but I'm trying to think, when you have an event, things come up sometimes, and you may have to go out and get ice. Do we have to go and fill that out to go get ice, or, I don't understand. I do understand procedures and things like that, but sometimes day of events, people may have to spend their money. And what do you do in that case?
Yes, sir.
So we do have a procedure in place that is called the emergency clause. That will be more of the exception and not the rule. So if council, the department head, the mayor, comes to me and says, hey, I've got a council member that would like to buy 10 bags of ice, then there's a process for that. But it's all about accountability. It's all about, when we get these audits, that we are following procedures as dictated by the auditor's office, which will help us when we get these audits, so that we are following procedures. And I don't say this lightly, but I mean, I've been in government for 15 years. And both places that I've worked at, they've had this type of policy in place, and the audits have always came back very favorable. So with putting something this minor in place, I think it will help us down the line and hopefully help us do things properly.
Vice, and then Vice, go ahead, then I'm gonna come back to Ms. Jeter.
Okay, wouldn't a situation like that also, there's a village credit card that you would go and purchase something? I'm not against what you're trying to say. I'm not, but I want people to see, or maybe, I don't know about people, but I just want it to be known that sometimes stuff can come up. And usually that's what the village credit card is for. I don't know how I'm trying to plead somebody else's case.
That's
But I
perfect.
just know that sometimes stuff come up. I know that
Yeah.
from Lincoln Heights Day.
And the credit card, if I may,
Yes, go ahead.
is a perfect example of that, where one of our our department head for Public Works came to me and said, we had a blowout and I need to go get a tire. He immediately brought me the PO. I immediately approved it. We made sure the funds were there. Boom. Now in the process, he was actually heading up to get the tire to maintain that. So one of the things I put out with the policy was the exception. We don't want it to slow down a department. So it can't stop a business. And having a flat tire on a public work vehicle is definitely halting business. So again, it's the exception, not the rule. If it gets to be where it starts becoming a rule and everybody starts buying stuff without getting approval, then now we've lost control. We've lost the method of having a system in place. And I would definitely recommend against that. Little systems are going to really make us stand out as a village, and I would hope that you will support me on this.
Ms. Jeter?
I believe in policy and procedures, but I'm interested in the amount that we're talking about.
So, again, it's all about policy, but in this case, the amount was $32.29. So it's not a great deal. I look at it as more of a donation. I'm sure the person who purchased it is not going to look at it that way. But it's one of those things that I felt was important to have a policy in place and say, and again, it's not a new policy. This isn't something that Harry Holbert, village manager, put into place. This is something Harry Holbert said, here's our policy.
Yeah, you enforcing.
We need
the
to follow it.
You enforcing the policy, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you, Madam Mayor, because I believe some of our findings had to do with some
They,
reimbursements
they
that were
did,
not.
yes, you're
okay.
right.
I was sitting over here like, what are we talking about? Okay.
I just wanted to know the amount, so I know who it is,
Okay.
that's it,
Yeah.
that's all.
Anything else over here?
Made me laugh,
To the
thank you.
left? To the right? Okay. All right, so thank you, Mr. Holbert, for that breakdown.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing further, y'all already know. Motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
Good night. All in favor? All in favor, good night.